Hello, friends. Here's an intriguing tale for you today. Ready to dive in? I realized I was losing myself when my wife posed our future doubts at our anniversary dinner in front of her family, specifically during the conversation with another man. It was a Sunday evening at her parents' house. The table was meticulously set, the candles already lit as we arrived. We had been married for 6 years. Her mother had prepared enough food for an entire battalion. Her father filled our glasses with wine and stood up to make a toast. He raised his glass, ready to speak of family, stability, and commitment. But she interrupted him before he could finish, turning slightly to her left and casually asking for another opinion. She then mentioned Damon's name, who was comfortably seated opposite me without a jacket, sleeves rolled up, appearing as if he truly belonged there. She had always described him as an acting partner, strategic advisor, just part of my professional circle. She inquired from him if it would be prudent to purchase real estate immediately or wait until spring, if moving to another state for long-term prosperity was a wiser choice, and whether it was advisable to invest capital at this point. The room fell silent. Damon responded cautiously yet confidently. She gave an affirmative nod, took out a small notebook, and jotted down his words. She smiled at him upon completion of the sentence, touching his forearm as he finished speaking. Her father lowered his glass. Her mother glanced at me before swiftly looking away. I was positioned less than 4 feet from my wife. My profession lies in risk assessment, and long-term planning is integral to my work. She did not cast a single glance towards me. She discussed our future as if I were not present. I chose not to interject, correct, or remind anyone of my identity. I allowed her to continue speaking. It was then she lost self-control. 6 years prior, I signed the mortgage documents while she stood beside me, browsing through paint samples on her phone. At that time, every financial decision transited through my computer. Financial planning, savings, long-term goals. I constructed spreadsheets at the kitchen counter as she prepared coffee, peeking over my shoulder, inquiring, nodding. When she desired something costly, she delayed until I checked the figures. When I agreed, she rejoiced. When I declined, she respected it. This pattern persisted for years. Then, roughly 8 months ago, it altered. The change didn't occur through an argument. It occurred through silence. One evening, she mentioned a possible investment opportunity linked to one of her corporate events. I sought details. She casually expressed it was still premature. The following week, I noticed papers on her tablet that I hadn't examined. When I inquired about them, she said she had already discussed it with someone more knowledgeable about growth. This was the first time she compared me to another person. Damon became an official part of our lives a year ago as a business partner, polished, always composed. He became a frequent presence, initially at work gatherings, later at celebratory events like birthdays and casual Sunday meals. He seemed to effortlessly share laughter with her parents. Her mother admired his drive, while her father held him in high regard for his self-assuredness. At a certain point, my part shifted. When discussions turned towards the future, she no longer faced me but leaned towards him. When she discussed relocating, expanding, reinvesting, she waited for his response. Upon nodding, she appeared at ease. Whenever he spoke, she paid attention. I observed this transformation without expressing it. I remained in my place, silent, observing as she amassed approval that previously came from me. By the time the anniversary dinner rolled around, the pattern was already established. I had merely not witnessed it played out in public before. The meal continued as if nothing out of the ordinary had transpired. Dishes were served, more wine was poured, and her mother inquired about Damon's recent conference. He replied, self-assured, composed, fitting seamlessly into our family's rhythm. My wife leaned back in her chair, discussing meticulously prepared plans. She brought up a new apartment situated in another state, offering more promising prospects. She hinted at reducing possessions first, followed by reinvestment. She spoke about the importance of timing, adaptability, and progression. Each pause was followed by a glance towards Damon. He responded as if consulting, discussing location factors, market trends, and lifestyle benefits. She chuckled at one of his remarks, a swift laugh reserved for intimate moments. When she underscored a point, her hand lingered momentarily on his arm. No one disturbed the flow of her speech. Her father paused his meal, sitting back with folded hands, eyes shifting between his daughter and me. Her mother continued nodding, but her smile began to constrict. A cousin at the table fixed her gaze on her plate. I remained in my seat. I didn't attempt to touch my drink. I didn't lean forward. I observed my wife detailing a scenario where my identity was absent, a place where my occupation, viewpoint, and presence held no significance. She used "we" on multiple occasions. Not once did she make eye contact with me during this discourse. Damon concluded his explanation, to which she offered sincere gratitude as if he had addressed a significant matter for her. I subtly pushed my chair away. The screech was louder than anticipated. She took notice then, momentarily. Her speech paused. She looked at me puzzled, as though I had disrupted a lecture. I stood up, briefly nodded to her parents, and picked up my coat. No words of farewell. No clarification provided. I departed before the dessert was served. I arrived home prior to midnight. The house was tranquil, lights off except for the kitchen. I abstained from preparing a drink. I opted not to sit. Instead, I stood by the counter and waited. She joined me around an hour later. Her heels clicked once, then ceased upon seeing me. She gently placed her bag, as though calm could ease the past's impact. She inquired about my sudden departure without farewell. Her voice held an edge of anger, a restrained defense. I queried her reason for discussing our mortgage with Damon rather than me. She quickly replied as if she had rehearsed it. She stated that I always said no. She claimed I only saw risks. She expressed a desire for someone who perceived opportunities instead of constraints. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't apologize. I informed her that assessing risk was my duty, that I didn't hinder opportunities, I gauged them. I reminded her of every solid decision we made through this process. She folded her arms, gazed beyond me, stated that perhaps stability wasn't what she desired anymore. The gap between us remained unchanged. No pacing, no shouting, just distance. Then she whispered something more. She suggested she might require time to contemplate. Not we, not us. She moved past me and climbed the stairs. I remained in place. I heard the bedroom door shut. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated upstairs, then again. I remained unresponsive. I extinguished the kitchen light and spent the night on the couch. In the dawn, she departed without stirring me. Her half of the bed lay vacant. The calendar on the refrigerator still marked our anniversary in red. Nothing else shifted. It was that evening when I comprehended that the discussion had run its course. The subsequent 2 weeks dispelled any lingering uncertainty about my position. She seldom returned home at night. When she did, it was past dark and the house was already quiet. She moved stealthily, bathed, scrutinized her phone, and slept with her back to me. In the mornings, she vanished before I awoke. No messages, no reasons, just an emptiness cloaked in justifications. Deadlines, clients in town, last-minute alterations. Her device was rarely detached from her grasp. Damon's name began appearing in various places instead. Photographs from corporate events, badges from conferences, panels. Constantly near her, frequently labeled as strategy or work mode. The captions remained formal. The closeness was unyielding. I attempted to suggest once, suggesting we view houses in our own neighborhood, something practical, something stable. I displayed the listings at the kitchen table, a routine I'd followed for years. She cast a brief glance at the screen. She declined then, stating it wasn't the right time. She didn't use we. It was her. 3 days later, her mother phoned me in the afternoon. Her voice maintained an air of caution and politeness, as if she chose each word deliberately. She inquired about our relationship, mentioning that her daughter had hinted we were spending less time together. She asked if my work had been causing me stress. I looked at the wall during the call, which lasted under 2 minutes. I assured her everything was well. That night, my wife didn't return home at all. Her car wasn't in the driveway when I woke up. The bed felt cold on her side. Her schedule on the calendar no longer mirrored hers. She didn't seem to notice my silence. She seemed distant already. I didn't bring anyone in, didn't check messages, didn't inquire. On a Friday evening, I left work early and steered towards her workplace instead. The structure stood dimly lit, many floors already in darkness. I parked across the road, engine shut off, reclined seat to blend. Her car was there, consistently parked in its familiar spot. A black SUV, immediately recognizable, stood beside it. I waited. 20 minutes elapsed. People exited in twos and small groups, giggling, untying knots. Then she emerged, jacket slung over one shoulder, phone in her hand. Damon was by her side, closer than coworkers would be at the end of a lengthy workweek. They stopped near his car. He placed his hand on her waist, casually, with practiced ease. She leaned into him without pause, looking up at his face, as she used to look at me when she thought no one was watching. She chuckled at something he said, but politely he opened the car door for her. She climbed in while he circled to the driver's seat. They didn't depart immediately. The cabin light flickered on. Reaching over the console, she touched his shoulder. He glanced up. Their faces moved closer without haste or uncertainty. The kiss wasn't brief, nor did it feel strange. Instead, it felt comfortable. I observed from under 100 feet away. No trembling, no gazing ahead, no phone in sight. As the SUV's interior light went off, I ignited my car, proceeded slowly, halted at a red light, and drove home in a different direction. She didn't call that night. Neither did I. Instead of going home, I navigated across town and stopped before my brother's house. Lights were on within. I checked the clock on the dashboard. A few minutes past 10. I remained there for a bit, then departed and knocked. He unlocked the door, spared a glance at me, and moved aside without inquiring about my visit. No shock. No queries at the doorway. Only room. We found ourselves in his kitchen. He filled 2 glasses of water and nudged one towards me. Initially, I didn't touch it. The atmosphere was tranquil, punctuated only by the fridge's hum. He inquired about the circumstances. I recounted every detail: the building, the parking lot, the SUV, her hand on Damon's shoulder, the kiss. I withheld any additional information or omissions. Only facts in sequence they transpired. He maintained silence throughout, showing no signs of disapproval or anger. After I concluded, he leaned back and gazed at the ceiling for a brief moment. Then he voiced a single statement. I had been supplanted before that particular evening, and now I was aware of it. No counsel followed, no strategy. He didn't suggest my next move or guide my emotions. He simply remained seated opposite me in plain. That night I slept on his couch, phone turned over. Silent notifications. No significant messages arrived. In the morning, I folded the blanket, thanked him, and departed. By the time I got in my car, the course ahead was already decided. There was nothing more to debate. She located me 2 days later. I had ceased responding to messages. I wasn't concealing myself. I was at a cafe near my workplace, one with soft lighting and no music loud enough to stir emotion. I selected a table by the window and arrived early. She arrived 10 minutes late. Her hair was pulled back tightly. Her coat remained on. She surveyed the room, noticed me, and hastened, already anxious. She didn't immediately take a seat. She inquired about my whereabouts and why I vanished so abruptly. Her voice remained low, but it trembled at the edges. I waited until she sat down. Then I shared with her what I observed. I detailed the parking lot, her office building, the black SUV, Damon's hand on her waist, the way she leaned towards him, the kiss inside his car. I maintained a steady tone. I didn't bother to gauge her response. Her complexion paled. She attempted to speak once but remained silent instead. Her grip tightened around the table edge. The self-assuredness she displayed upon entering the cafe quickly vanished within 30 seconds. She attempted to voice her thoughts. I subtly raised my hand and continued speaking. I brought up the dinner, her inquiry about our mortgage, and her need for time. She asserted that by the moment I witnessed the kiss, everything was no longer ambiguous. I informed her I wasn't there to debate or hear excuses. I mentioned I would be filing for divorce the following morning. It was then that her breathing altered. She didn't shed tears. Instead, she trembled. Her gaze remained fixed on me as if trying to recognize a foreigner. I rose first, left money on the table, and departed without waiting for her to join me. She stayed rooted in her seat when the door shut behind me. The next morning, I submitted the divorce papers. At the courthouse, no drama, just fluorescent lights and a clerk who ignored me. A form was pushed my way, I signed where directed, returned everything, and left before noon. By the time I got into my car, my phone had already buzzed twice. I didn't check it then. A week later, a late-night message arrived. She declared her relationship with Damon was over and she needed to talk. No punctuation, no clarification, just urgency. I chose not to reply. 2 weeks following that, her brother phoned. We were acquainted since college days. He was direct. He reported she had suddenly appeared at their parents' home. He said she asked for financial aid, not a loan, but help. He mentioned Damon had let her go from the agency due to a conflict of interest, and once things became public, she became a liability. He implied that she believed Damon would support her, protect her, but he didn't. I listened without interjecting, refraining from asking any questions. Following the phone call's termination, I remained in my car outside my workplace as evening fell and observed workers depart for home. Pairs of colleagues, acquaintances with destinations, all heading out. My phone remained on the passenger seat, screen down. A fresh message arrived from her that night, more extensive this time. I chose not to read it. The house fell silent after that. No unexpected visitors, no slammed doors, just the void filling itself up. The divorce proceedings progressed swiftly. Possessions distributed, signatures exchanged. No attempts to renegotiate, no last-minute pleas. By the time the final papers arrived, all necessary conversations had already taken place elsewhere. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday afternoon in a tranquil office adorned with impersonal walls and no photos. The lawyer slid the documents into a folder, gave a single nod, and announced it was done. I stood up, shook his hand, and departed without hesitation or contacting anyone. Simply moving on, I didn't move to another city. I didn't take any leave. I maintained my routine as is in the same office. Daily commute, consistent rhythm. The mechanism functioned, and I was well versed within its confines. Several months elapsed, and I attended a professional gathering downtown. These events are characterized by business-oriented discourse, where individuals assess one another based on achievements rather than anecdotes. Arriving solo without fanfare or explanation, I was recognized. Questions about projects, future plans, opinions were directed my way, and I responded accordingly. I stayed for a single drink, possibly two. She was present as well, positioned across the room, no companion by her side, displaying an uncharacteristic vulnerability in her demeanor. Engaging with various individuals, she searched for an opportunity that never materialized. We didn't engage. At a certain moment, our eyes locked long enough to acknowledge each other. She maintained eye contact, waiting for some response or gesture. I chose not to respond. Instead, I turned back to the dialogue in progress, completed my drink, and departed without bidding farewell to anyone specifically. That evening, I navigated familiar roads towards home. The dwelling appeared tranquil yet populated. All items were in their designated spots. During our recent family gathering, she discussed a scenario devoid of my presence. I opted against debate or interruption. Instead, I gracefully extricated myself from that envisioned future, fully surrendering it to her.